Dashboards 2.0. We able to call them that yet? Is it 2.0? Do anyone know what 1.0 was? Are we using dashboards correctly in Power BI? Or am I just making this whole thing up for the sake of getting you to watch a video? Who knows? Welcome along. My name's Ross, the creator and founder of Geordie Consulting and Geordie Intelligence, the YouTube channel you're watching today. So Dashboards 2.0, have we turned a corner and the traditional dashboards that Power BI offered, and let's be frank, very few people really used, have kind of been superseded by a much better feature that probably even fewer people use? And am I making sense, or is this going to be something that you're going to go, oh, explain this to me, expand it to me, make it make sense to me, Ross? Let's start off with this, okay? This is a traditional dashboard that you get within Power BI, okay? And dashboards in Power BI are actually, think of them more as a menu system in that it presents a subset of values and key data points, but more as a way of, as a click to then get to that report content. So here for our Parkrun Newcastle data set, we've kind of got some simple stuff together, and we could then combine and put different things in and build content up that way. But what you see here is this chart, for example, we don't have the tooltips that we have with it. It isn't interactive as such, and all that would happen if we clicked on it is it will take us to a report page. Okay, and from that report page, we can then actually, again, hover over it, and now we get the information out for that next level. So we've got this mindset now, haven't we, that suddenly we're, okay, that menu infrastructure, that potentially, it's great, and being able to build up dashboards and build up menu infrastructure. Most importantly, if you go back, so if we come back here and we look and we say, right, this is it full size, and we say, right, we're restricted to block sizes. So kind of, this is a standard block size, okay? We've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 8 by 5, say, as a minimum. So that's kind of 40 tiles that we have. And menus or dashboards can link to dashboards, so you can have them interacting and actually get really rich data out from them quite easily. The thing with it is kind of it all takes up space and you don't really have much information that's there front and center. So I was thinking, I said, well, how is this looking different? And this is then where one of the things we were doing in a video that I did about metrics and revisiting metrics, now especially the new feature that's come out in metrics where we've got access to the data set, changes everything, okay? So if we look at metrics, and bear with me now, let's see what we mean by this. So if we look at metrics, so let's have a look at this untitled scorecard 2, okay, which we put in place as we were doing some of these things. And what we have is we've got this totals, haven't we? And we can see there's a little sub goals to it as well. Now, if we look along a line of these, let's ignore the name. Obviously, you've got a name for what the scorecard is or what the item is. We've got an owner, so who's this assigned to? Whose name is there? Who is the accountable person, okay, for this metric is kind of where we would go. I think it's the accountable in my mind. I don't think it's the responsible. This is an accountable first to it. We've got status to it, and we've got a trend that we can see. So trending is really important as well. But then what we also have is we've got this drop down, so we can actually drop it down and we can have a look and we can see. And what we have, if we zoom out, we've got businesses, which is from our food hygiene data set, okay, across English businesses. And then we've got Newcastle park runners and Sunderland park runners. So we've actually got data coming through from different areas. And more importantly, what we could do here over time as it increases or changes is we could say, well, we're going to edit this. And let's go add a new sub goal. This is going to be North Tyneside park runners. Okay, so we've kind of got the same thing. We can choose to set this up, connect it to the data. Let's go and have a look. All report. North Tyneside park. Okay, so we're going to pick that one, choose next. It opens it up. We're going to pick the all finishers. I think we've used so far, or is it registered? Pick all finishes. We can always go back and change it, which is the other thing, which is one of the fantastic things we can do. So choose connect to there, puts in a value. We can then choose to, let's put in an arbitrary value. So we want 300,000. Okay. We could also link that to the data. So we could put something in predicting what the end of year value will be or what a value will be in the future and have that as a target. These are all things we can do. And then I'm going to say it's on track, although of course, yes, we could go in again and set up a rule set for this and hit save. What you see happens is it updates our goal as well at the top. So I don't know if you saw, but that starts spinning went through that updated because it's a sum of the others. So we've got to this point where actually things are automatically updating and data is flowing successfully through it. And this is where I'm saying this is Dashboards 2.0, because each of these, because of the nature of the beast, as it were, that's here, we can go to the report that these relate to. So it's not quite a menu structure that was there before, but it's easy enough to get to it. So we can actually start to piece together these dashboards based on metrics. And by doing that, these are all tied to our scorecards. This is exactly what it is we want it to be. So for here, we're now tracking Newcastle, Sunderland and North Tyneside park runners in terms of how many people have finished events. That allows so much growth and granularity from it. We could do under a certain time, over a certain time. We could do all sorts of arbitrary stuff in there, build up the relevant scorecards, total it up to be whatever the totals are, and monitor and track things over time. And most efficiently, such an efficient way of actually using a page. If we look and we say, well, my totals is just one line and I can see it's on track. And then if I need to, I'm interested in that now, I can drill down into the sub goals and I can see those sub goals. And then I can look at a particular one and I can see its trend over time. This is much more feature rich and better for me as a consumer. And then when we go, okay, we've got all that going through, what else would we want out of these? Is the next thing. When it becomes clear that the new metrics, actually, if we go to, let's go to Jasmine Dean. And what I found was, if I can remember the name of it, was what was the scorecard called again? Untitled, wasn't it? The owner's meet, so that's in mine. Okay. Got the England food hygiene in it. Okay. So here, what we've got is we've got a statistical model now based on, this is the model based on the scorecard. So by looking at that model based on that scorecard, that's bringing in data from multiple workspaces, from multiple data sets, from multiple semantic models. And it's doing it in a way that's only surfacing those core metrics that we actually care about and that we want. So from a business-wide perspective, suddenly we've got a route that's allowing us to manage very specific, this is all I want people to see, data sets. So nothing is being spread out, nothing is being lost as it drifts out across the business. I'm not having to compromise security by saying, right, our critical HR data, I'm going to have to give more people access to it because they need to get a country cost report. We can actually build those country cost reports in the HR data set using an HR scorecard or HR metric set. And then we can use that value structure underneath it to produce something else. If you really want to, you could probably do some air gapping further to say, well, let's extract those values into, say, a SharePoint list or something. So you'd actually build up your costings per week, per month, whatever it is you're doing. All of these change the way that we're going to interact with data, because now everything is much more data driven, but we've got these layers and approaches that are going to make it much easier for us to manage our business effectively. So this is why, in my head, I'm starting to come around to the idea that actually this dashboard, the value add that they give is kind of running out. And this has always been a difficult one to kind of get people to buy into it because you're kind of stuck to, you've got this. And people, I want a dashboard that's all pretty and this and that. But the value add that you get from doing this, especially when you consider that a good app structure should be able to cope with 50, 60 different reports. Well, you go, well, I don't want that. You go, yeah, but your app should have every report that somebody will need in that functional area ever. So if you're saying, well, they use this once a month, once a year, that's fine. It should still be in there for them to go and click on that report page and view it. What you don't want to do is build build 2 or 3 really full reports with hundreds of pages. But if you think, well, we've got a thin connected report and we've got 60 of them, big wow. You're still, management-wise, you are looking at one semantic model to manage. And you've got that one semantic model is servicing all these other reports. And that sounds daunting and that can sound terrifying, but that's the way to work. And that's why, as we look at the context of what we're going on and what we're doing in the context of reporting and report management and enterprise-wide data solutions, you'll start to see that, yeah, this is what makes sense. This is why we need to do it. Yeah? So what do you reckon now? Okay? In terms of what went on with that, there's a lot of content in there that's just, it's difficult to summarize, is all I can say. I mean, we could probably spend half a day going over this in terms of the pros and cons of dashboards versus these new metrics. And they're not even new. Metrics have been around for a long time, but the power that they bring, because they can have multiple semantic models. So if you looked at that one we had, where we had the total and then we had 4 sub-goals by the end of it, that's 4 different semantic models that you've got. Now, what we could say is we're going to have a discussion about this next week, actually, because we've got like 3 regions, and we need 4, 5, 6 regions we're going to be talking about of different parkrun data. Now, should that be 6 semantic models? And it's a great analog for what we see going on with big business, that we've got different countries, got different regions, got this, and traditionally they're separate. But what that means is, separate means we've got to maintain, if you've got 2 models, that's double the workload. If you add a third in, that's 3 times the workload. If you can bring them into one and cope with them as one, yes, it will be more work than just one, but it will be less than 2 and definitely less than 3. So you kind of get to that point of where there's a value add in doing it, but you kind of, let's go through and have a proper discussion about it and actually see the realities of it and think about it. And then we'll also look at the whole deployment pipeline side, because again, that's coming up. CI/CD, is it the way to go? That we want to be able to put in these proper program-led, IT-led solutions to data, that there's a place for them, but I think as well, you'll see that it's not quite as simple as is being presented. And there's one of the things that you need to work through and what you need to think about. And the one thing that I will say, a story that I will give. So way back in 2008, I was in a meeting with Microsoft. It was a Microsoft reseller talking about SharePoint. Well, no, it was actually a Microsoft resource who'd come through for a reseller. Yeah, Microsoft pre-sales, part of a pre-seller. Yeah, to explain it. One of the things he said is Microsoft, so us, we are on our 3rd iteration of SharePoint. This was SharePoint 2003. 3rd internal iteration of SharePoint, because we couldn't get the deployment right. We couldn't get the internal architecture right for it. And the 3rd iteration they were going through at that point was actually where they went around the route saying, right, we've got our official and we've got our more ad hoc side of things. And the official is what you want to work on. And this actually works really well in Power BI sense as well. So you have your official, these are the reports that you have. These are the ones we will certify. These are the ones that are there. Okay, and then you've got this nice structure because you've built your data source of truth and your data pillars that were based on good, proper data values. And you then allow people to connect to them to build their own report content against them. What does that actually do to your core data value? I'll tell you what it does. It increases it. If you have people who say, well, I can't do that, so I'm going to have to go and create our own. What they do then is they go and they create something else. And that becomes, oh, this is really good. Can you keep doing it? And then your corporate center of excellence, this is what we do, gradually kind of suffers death by 1,000 cuts. Bring them into you by actually connecting and allowing people to connect their additional data content to it, which suddenly means that we want that structured, rigid, owned, managed environment. That's kind of what a traditional legacy BI platform should be, and is what IT are desperate to kind of serve up and deliver. But the business is going, well, we want to keep producing Excel spreadsheets to do stuff. The two come together when you allow connecting Excel spreadsheets, new Power BI content to existing semantic models that are managed. And those models can be managed structurally, documented, everything like that. And then what we don't have to worry about is, well, you know, Steve went and built a report that picks this metric, and that metric and does it together. I don't care. You know, I care that the metrics are right and that the way that we've written and structured those metrics are right. But in terms of how you drag and drop things together, am I really going to get too concerned about it? No. And what we should be doing instead is saying, right, let's make sure we've got a way that whatever Steve builds, we back it up so that there's always a backup of it. Let's do things like that. But these aren't big data questions. These are more just simple, basic IT ops things. Let's manage our backups. Let's manage what's going on. Let's make sure that we actually service something up that then allows the business to do what they need and ultimately protects the business. Because if people are building lots of spreadsheets by copying down data sets onto their laptop, that laptop becomes quite a risk. If instead of them, they're building connected Excel spreadsheets, or Power BI content, which doesn't have the data, just has what's required as a pivot table, the result of the pivot table for each visual, the risk profile to the business is significantly lower. So it's like a win-win for everyone, a no-brainer. But yeah, okay? If you recognize the excellence in that and how this is the way you should be doing it, okay, get in touch, okay? Got a link down below. You can book a meeting with us. Let's get in touch. Let's connect up, talk about how we can help you and your organization get to that next level. And you can engage us and we can work out how we can best put you through an audit initially and then work out what the plans are to take you from the position you are now to where you want to get to in the future. For now though, stay safe, take care, ta-da.